Hello friends, Steve here as ever with the Pod and Prometheus. Today we're going to be looking at the subject of Derby, the town in the East Midlands, but also the word and the concept more widely. You're going to hear from Leah Morgan, a Derby girl. I'm sure she would describe herself. I was also in Derby for more years than I would like to admit, and that's going to come out in here. We're going to share a little bit of history, a little bit of culture, a little bit of understanding, a little bit of comedy. And to lead us in, Leah is going to play for us her now. It's a melodeon, is the kind of squeeze box she plays. Because a lot of this, weirdly, is going to be about the folk music history of Derby.
Hello everybody and welcome to Towards an Understanding of Derby, part of a series of podcasts in which I try and understand that city down the road and all of its different connotations. I'm joined by a wonderful guest today to try and sort through what Derby really means. Hello wonderful guest, who are you?
Hi, my name is Leah Morgan and I run Leah Loves Science, which is a science and engineering YouTube channel where I answer everyone's burning science and engineering questions and my own questions.
What are your Derby credentials, Leah?
So, I was born in Derby. I went
Which
to school
bit?
in Derby, in Stenson Fields.
Wow, don't know that.
It is right on the edge. It is technically Derby.
Technically Derby, right, okay. You went to school in Derby?
I went to school in Derby and then I left Derby potentially forever, but it remains in my heart.
And what age did you leave?
18.
Okay, good. So my Derby credentials are that I lived in Derby till I was 9, and then I moved to the vastly superior Nottingham.
That's
So
rude.
it's just a fact that it's bigger.
I struggle
has
to
more industry,
argue with it.
has more culture, has won the European Cup more times. Just lots of things. So we're going to talk about Derby and your memories of Derby and my memories of Derby and Derby. And we've also got, as a special treat to really kind of work through the meanings of Derby, we've got some chocolate bars called Derby from Greece. We've got 4 different versions. There's a red one, a blue one, a black one, and a white one. Which one do you like the look of the most?
I'm feeling the blue one.
Right, let's
I feel
try
like
the blue
it looks
one.
like dark chocolate.
Let's try the blue one. I'll take a bite. You describe it to the listeners, what it looks like.
It looks like, I'm going to say Lion Bar now because you put the idea in my head. It looks like it's got coconut in it. It's like dark chocolate. It looks like it's covered. It looks like a Rice Krispie cake.
It's like somebody took a very thin Bounty and then wrapped it in Rice Krispies and then wrapped the whole thing in dark chocolate. What do you think?
I mean, I love Bounties, controversial. But
red or blue?
The red's the dark chocolate one, right?
That's right.
I feel like I like the blue one. I feel like it's not good dark chocolate. I have opinions.
There's very little good dark chocolate in the world. Dark chocolate mainly exists so that people can pretend to like it in order to think they're better than other people.
You're not a fan of this,
Nobody's a fan of dark chocolate. I mean, it's all right in this because I think the amount of white coconut in the middle balances it out a bit.
I respect that opinion. I disagree with that opinion.
Fight your corner. I should say, listeners, these are all from TFC, which is a Greek supermarket in... I always get the name of this bit of London wrong. It's not Wood Green. Palmer's Green. There are 6 types of Derby bar. They only had 4 in stock, so we've got 4 of them. And that's all we know. It's made by Ion. We're going to come back to these as we go along. So that was the blue Derby bar. So Leah, do you think, you've spent a lot of time in Derby, do you think there's like a quintessential Derby experience? What makes Derby a different place to everywhere else?
I feel like all towns in the Midlands have got like a very similar vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's similar to the northern vibe where, you've been forgotten by London and you've really you've just got yourselves to get by. I feel like Derby's got that same vibe where everyone's just trying to have a good time.
Yeah.
So I feel like, and this is probably like a very generic teenager thing, but like hitting Darley Park with WKDs and then getting chased off by police, that's peak Derby. I'm feeling it.
For people who don't know, which one's Darley Park? Is that the one that has like the Canada geese and the killer swans and the mills and the Sam Smith's pub in it?
No, it's right in the middle, and it's split into like two sections, and they have fireworks there sometimes. It's a very magical place. But it's like right in the city centre. So good.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at it now. We're both talking about the same place. That's how split up it is.
Where's the pub?
Sorry, Darley Park or Derby Park?
Darley Park.
Yeah. We're talking about the same thing, weirdly. Darley Abbey Park, aka Darley Park. Yeah, it has the town end, but if you go right down to the other end, you get to it's almost the Allister end. That's the bit I was thinking of. I got bit by a swan there when I was 6. So
I got bit by a goose once.
Derby
Never
birds
recovered.
are hungry, is what we can take from that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really true because I went for a night out in Derby about 4 years ago, staying in what I have to say was the best hotel bargain I've ever had. I think it's the old council buildings or the old magistrates court. This incredible industrial revolution era building has been converted into a boutique hotel, but no one wants to stay in Derby. So it was like 60 quid on a Saturday night for a double room and a full silver service breakfast the next day. Cocktails were 7 quid and they were all made with complicated smoke but bloody hell, we did not go out of the hotel on Saturday night. It was petrifying. Like, it was full on nonsense.
It's a good night out, though. I mean, like, if you want like a good night out, you do get on the bus to Nottingham, but I feel like it's a good night out.
Yeah.
There's 2 clubs, 3 clubs, maybe. That's all you need.
Yeah. And there is that late night bus back from Nottingham. You can see
it's specifically designed to take people from Derby to Nottingham for the night out. But I feel like that's the other thing, and I guess that is like a Midlands Northern thing as well, is that all the towns are like ex-industry towns. So they're just so pretty with like big old red brick factories and like rows of terrace houses. And like, I do live in Oxfordshire now, and I've got to say, it's like very, very yellow, very beige in the town.
Very twee, Oxford. Part of Derby, of course, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The mills, including the Darley Abbey Mill, are a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is
world's first factories.
It's pretty impressive. Yeah, I'm really intrigued by what you said about the town just being left to its own devices. Because a couple of years ago, I went back to all the places from my childhood. I just went and walked around them to see, what these memories were like compared to now. And I have to say, both Derby and Nottingham have just been left to rot, as far as I can tell. Like these places that were full of all sorts of interesting shops and, the mixture of high up market, down market, middle market, loads of different things, loads of independents. They're both just gone to shit.
Yeah, it's like all the rents have just gone up in the town centre, and it's just, I mean, everyone's been kicked out. Even the marketplace used to be like Eagle Market, and they had loads of stalls, and these days all the market bits are all empty.
Yeah. No, I was really sad about the market. All my favourite shops that I remember even from 15 years ago aren't there anymore. Eagle Centre Market, where I got my first Star Wars figure.
No
Fun
way.
facts. Yeah. So what are the Derby highlights for people who haven't seen Derby and they want to do something other than just get trashed in 3 clubs and dream about getting on the Red Arrow to Nottingham?
I feel like one of those clubs has 3 floors, so you're really underselling them.
Okay, sorry.
So I feel like you've got to go to the Cathedral. It's got a very nice cathedral because the town itself is not very big, but I think legally a city because it's got a very nice cathedral.
Awarded city status in the 70s.
Oh, really?
I'm full of Derby facts. Oh, yeah.
You know more than me. I've not got no memories.
It was because you were drinking in the 3 clubs all the time.
Probably. But they do have peregrine falcons at the top of the cathedral, and
That's
you are
amazing.
allowed to go up. They've got a webcam, so you can watch the birds at all times.
But you can't pet the birds.
No, if you can reach them, but I feel like they're halfway up the what do you call it? A tower? Do cathedrals have towers?
Yeah,
Halfway up the
probably.
tower.
Belfry, tower, spire, one of them.
That's great. That's like peak Derby news. Like, if you want to hear something, you want to hear about the Peregrine Falcons, are they doing okay? I think the webcam went up in like 2006, and it's big news.
And what are the staples of Derby culture? You know, in Nottingham, traditionally, when you go for a night out, you all have to meet at the Left Lion, to the point that the Nottingham Culture website is called Left Lion. And then there's a bunch of places that people go that we all used to talk about, none of which are there anymore. What's the kind of Derby? Where do the cool kids go and do things? Not just boozing, but where are the cool shops? Where are the cool...
That's a great question. The first thing that comes to mind is not a cool shop. It's the big sheep that we have near the bus station.
That's
you
amazing.
have to go sit on the big sheep. It's a big stone ram, based on the Derby ram, of course.
Yeah.
Famous
Derby
folk
County,
tale.
the famous sheep shaggers of the football world.
Yeah, precisely. One time, a very long time ago, Derby had one big sheep, and that's pretty much what we've based everything else around. We've got
Hence
folk
the
songs and
windmills.
everything.
What are the Derby folk songs? Because the Nottingham folk songs, of course, are all just we hate Derby and we hate Derby, and it's hi ho, we hate Derby.
That's pretty good.
The
So
real
Derby-
Nottingham song. Can I do the real Nottingham song?
Of course.
This is the song that's called the Nottingham Song. It's not the song from Robin Hood. This song, Every Town Has Its Ups and Downs, which is probably a title not in Nottingham. The Nottingham Song actually goes, oh, Nottingham is full of fun. Trigger warning on the Nottingham Song, by the way, for misogyny. Oh, Nottingham is full of fun. Nottingham is full of fun. It's got beer and fanny and forest. Nottingham is full of fun, which means, actually reminds me, I want to ask you about, as a woman who was a girl in Derby, Nottingham famously has incredibly attractive women, to the point that there's an urban myth that the reason Nottingham wasn't bombed in the Second World War was because Hitler had heard how fit the women were and he didn't want to bomb it. What's it like growing up as a woman in the less attractive Friend sitting next to Nottingham?
Deeply hurtful. I did try and get to Nottingham at all available opportunities, though, I feel like.
But had you ever heard this urban myth that and there's people who say things like, oh, in Nottingham it's like 4 women to every man.
I've never heard any of these. Are these specific to your household?
No. So in the there was a Nottingham Experience like theme park thing where you sat in a repurposed meat hanging conveyor thing. Like imagine a little cable lift, a ski lift, but it's built on a meat hanging thing, and it went through, and you had to be like, there was a bit where Nottingham was in the Second World War, and that told you, it said, of course, we've all heard that Hitler won't bomb Nottingham because of all the incredibly beautiful women, he said. Yeah, it was part of the whole weird Nottingham thing. Sorry, I'm talking too much about Nottingham. We should
No,
talk about Derby.
I'm very interested in this.
I mean, they really only define themselves by their differences from one another.
Yeah. I have also, my partner's from Stoke-on-Trent. Well, from Staffordshire, around Stoke-on-Trent. I tried explaining that there's a rivalry between Derby and Stoke. He's like, no, there's not.
Is there? Is this the A-up wars?
I'm starting
that's
to
why
wonder
Nottingham hates
if it's just Derby versus everyone.
No, Nottingham hates Stoke because of the A-up wars. We claim that we say A-up the most. And
I
they
think
claim
Derby
they
says I up the most.
There you go.
I don't mean to butt into your rivalry.
Who says it best?
We've got a beer called A-up.
Nice.
So I feel like maybe. But no, in terms of Derby songs, all the Derby songs I know are folk songs. I don't know how traditional. I don't know how recent. But one of them is the Derby Ram, which is about the really big sheep.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, the Derby Ram was a really big sheep. If you ever hear like Derby sheep references, Derby Ram references, it was just an exceptionally large street said to drown people when it was killed for all the blood in the street. Is that a trigger warning? Potentially.
Trigger warning if you are a sheep.
If you are a sheep or a large ram.
Sheep murder.
We've got the King of Rome, which is a song about a pigeon. A really good pigeon. that entered into a pigeon race between Derby and Rome, and there was a huge storm overnight and all the pigeons got swept away and only the King of Rome came home. So that pigeon won the race. That pigeon is stuffed in Derby Museum. If you wish to see the King of Rome in person, I would recommend it. It's a beautiful pigeon.
That's amazing. So is folk music really limited in its themes, or is it just Derby folk music that's all outstanding animals?
That's a great question. I feel like a lot of folk songs are about like maybe killing your sister, or, you know, my boyfriend came home from the war pretending he was someone else and asked me out and I said no. And then he was like, I tricked you. It was me the whole time, testing your faith. And there is one about a guy who shoots his girlfriend thinking she was a swan. But the guy says that she came down from heaven and told him it was fine, which sounds like something a guy who'd murdered his girlfriend because he thought she was a swan would say. No, honestly, she said it's fine.
Wait, are these Derby folk songs or these?
These are more generic at this point.
Okay.
The Derby ones are animal specific.
All you're proving is the lack of imagination of the Derby people.
It's got to be about, you know, good tales from your town, and the King of Rome is a good tale. And the big sheep. Didn't I tell you about the big sheep?
The big sheep does sound amazing. Right, I'm going to look at a map and find out where it was you lived. What's it called? Stenson
Fields, yeah.
Stenson
It used to be Fields. It's on a floodplain.
Wait. Whoops. Stenson Fields.
I live like right on the edge of Derby, so it's becoming like,
oh my word,
more and more houses.
Yeah, you almost live on the bypass.
Yeah.
Flipping heck, that's barely Derby.
I know.
Barely Derby.
But still Derby, technically.
Brilliantly, there's an area of Derby called California, according to Google Maps, which I can't
There
write.
is. I can't explain that. I argue that California was named after the Derby, California. You know, probably.
Might be. There's an area of Derby called New Zealand while we're doing all of these places.
They're well named. Have you got to ones that are all after trees?
No. I'm giggling at, so I grew up in Allister, and
that's a tree.
I'm just looking, well, it's all the trees, surely.
Allister.
In German.
Alice Baum.
Alice tree. That's how it all works. Derby does stop very quickly when you look at the map. You're like a kilometre and a half out. It's like fields now.
Yeah, that's where I live.
Well, no, weirdly, there was a field behind my house when I grew up in Derby. It's a housing estate now, but I do remember the sight of one of the people who used to look after us when we were kids running around the garden with a broom chasing cows out of our tiny back garden because they'd broken in.
That's great.
That's a proper Midlands story, isn't it? Cows out the back of mine. Should we try another chocolate bar? Which one do you want to try next?
I want to try the red one.
The red one, okay. So you try it, I'll describe it, and then you can tell everyone what it tastes like.
I put it into slices.
It looks like the last one we did, except covered in what I have to say is the duskiest milk chocolate I've ever seen. It's some dry, unpolished milk chocolate. But we're going to find out from Leah what's in the middle and whether it's nice. Leah, what do you reckon?
I don't know what's inside it. I want to say truffle, like some kind of truffle.
I don't know. Nougat, it says on the outside. But it's about the consistency of the middle of a finger of fudge, which of course isn't fudge. It's nothing like fudge. But chocolatey all the way through. This is good. I would eat this.
I like it more than the blue one.
All right.
The chocolate was no good on the blue one.
The squash ladder at the moment is red one above blue one. We'll rate them as we go along.
Ooh, exciting.
Squash ladder is a really middle class way of saying league table, isn't it?
I don't know what a squash ladder is, like the sport of squash.
I've never played squash. But squash ladders, the idea is that it's not like a league where you will play each other. Everybody's name is in order and you can challenge people above you, and if you beat them, you move up and they move down.
Oh.
So the idea is by the end of the season, you've got all the players sorted into the order of who's best to who's last without everyone having to play everyone.
But everyone playing everyone is fun.
Yeah, well,
Carnage.
That's a league. Oh, you mean at once? Just put 40 people in a small box with 20 balls.
That'd be nice. Is that the one where the ball bounces off the wall at quite a high pace?
Yeah.
That'd be great. I'd watch that. Like a million balls in there.
And what's Derby's sporting scene like? Since we're on Derby, since we're on sport, are you a sports person?
I'm not really a sports person. I feel obligated to say that obviously I support Derby in football. Mm-hmm. Although my friend is a big Burton Albion fan, and she might murder me. But no, obviously I support Derby, and that's the extent of my limit, knowledge-wise. I did used to. I was on the concession stand at Pride Park or whatever it's called these days, into Stadium something else.
Pride Park is what it's called. I don't care what it's called.
I know, right? And everyone there was like quite a big football fan, and that's why they'd got a job at the football stadium, whereas I was there because I kept not succeeding in my jobs, and they were the only place at this point that would take me. I'm there. But I enjoyed it.
What was the concession that you sold?
It was very expensive crisps, very expensive hot drinks, and pastries, which we would get. Oh, and like, I think we did burgers as well. But the pastries were very bad. We used to get one as our like treat, and they were half filled. They were not good. And then, no, I probably shouldn't say this. No, I'm mad about it.
It's terrible.
We used to have some of the staff come by and nick the pastries out the bins because they'd had a long, cold night standing on the edge of the pitch.
Yeah.
And then the people who ran the concessions found out, and they made us destroy them before we put them in the bin so that they couldn't eat them. So
the poor stewards couldn't eat horrible pastries for free.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Strange place. Everyone's so hungry in Derby because of the poor economy. I'm trying to think. I have been to Pride Park. I didn't go to see Derby. I went to see England under 21s. I have also watched Burton Albion because in a bizarre twist of fate, they got drawn against Arnold Town in one of the preliminary rounds of the FA Cup one year.
What is Arnold Town?
Arnold Town's it's a small town on the outside skirts of Nottingham.
Ooh.
Think of it as the Stenson Fields of Nottingham.
I will.
Yeah, and I knew someone who played for Arnold Town, so we went and watched Arnold versus Burton. And it's amazing that even at the very bottom of football, where nothing matters, there's still 6 bellends chanting "No surrender to the IRA."
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
I didn't mind the chants of "Arnold till I die." I'm Arnold till I die, because I was like, it's good that you've got something, but yeah, the no surrender stuff. I was like, grow up,
guys, chill out. Just chill out.
Also, if the IRA were there, they wouldn't be fucking chanting it. They'd be running away, filling their pants with poop. So you don't know much about. Are there any other Derby sports? You've got an ice hockey team.
Yeah, I have a friend who's very into ice hockey as well. But I'm not a sporty person.
No. Of course, too busy learning songs about sheep.
Yeah, first I've got priorities. There is a rock climbing centre, a very cool rock climbing centre in an old church called Altar Rock.
Yes, I like
it's
this.
Excellent. It's truly wonderful. You can like climb up. Did we establish what the pointy bit on a church was?
Spire. Tower.
Spire.
It depends. Some have a spire. Some have a tower.
You can climb up it. It's magical.
I think they're different on an Ordnance Survey map. The square with a cross, church with a tower. Round with a cross, church with a spire.
I don't know anything about churches. Except from the one in Derby. It's got a rock climbing centre in it. It's fabulous.
That does sound very fun. Sounds very fun. I suppose it's sad that even the church can't keep its buildings open in Derby. The economy is so depressed. Any lovely places to visit? Any good walks? Any good cycling routes? Any good? Did you ever leave your house to do anything other than drink and go to Nottingham?
Hurtful, first of all. There's, having just said that, the first thing that springs to mind is there's really nice pubs.
Yeah.
Because a pub crawl is walking, and walking is sports, and that's probably all the sports I do. But Derby's got loads of pubs. When I moved to Sheffield, everyone was like, oh, you'll love it. It's the real ale capital of the UK. And there's like fewer pubs. Like the pub density is lower. In Derby, you can do a pub crawl and visit like 12 pubs in the city centre without ever really walking very far.
Yeah.
In Sheffield, they're all like splayed out. It's terrible. No fair. I really do like Sheffield, but the pubs specifically.
Well, I mean, Sheffield's only the British centre of urban decay and architecture. It's where you go to film something where you want it to look shit. Like This Is England, right? You know, Shane Meadows' series of stuff, This Is England. The film's shot in Nottingham. It's shot in mainly Lenton.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they wanted to make the TV series a few years later, Nottingham was too nice. So they had to move filming to Sheffield because it was the only place that was shit enough. I'm just going to paste in the pub. That's the pub that's in Darley Park.
I feel like I've never walked that far.
It's right down the Swan's End.
Let me have a look. See.
And it's a 15th century inn. It's really nice.
I have no recognition. Oh, no.
It's worth a visit because you can feed some swans, have a half. Feed some swans, have a half. Feed some swans, have a half.
I'm not feeding the swans. Mean.
There's a little weir.
Oh, nice.
That's the thing I associate with Derbyshire. Weirs.
We got a lot of them. I've always been tempted to run across, but I feel like I might slip and fall into the Derwent.
I mean, you've already said that you're not a very sporting person.
But I got a lot of pep, and I think maybe that might see me through. There's like one right by the bus station that's, or like by the brewery tap that like spans the river, and I've always been tempted to climb over and run across. But there's a lot of signs specifically telling you not to do that, which implies people did it a lot and got seriously hurt.
That's very silly. Very, very silly.
It looks cool though. It looked like you were running on the water.
Yeah. No, River Derwent, nice river. Good for doing kick samples during your GCSEs.
Doing what?
You know, when you do like GCSE biology, you put a big net in the stream and you kick the bottom of the stream and you see what floats into your net, and then you identify all the insects. River Derwent, very good for that.
I never got to do that. Is that part of GCSE biology I missed out on?
Yeah, you do it again in A-level biology, but you're probably too busy doing physics and maths.
No, I never did. I wasn't good at it, so I quit.
Working on a concession, selling overpriced crisps. Let's talk about some other meanings of Derby. I feel bad about this one because it's sporting, but the Derby match.
Like Rams versus Forest, or like the concept of the Derby match?
Well, I mean, kind of both, because when people don't know about sport and we're watching the telly and they say, oh, it's the Manchester Derby, and they go, what's the Manchester Derby? I always go, it's when Manchester plays Derby. So there are people fully convinced that the idea of a derby is you play Derby. That's why in the East Midlands Derby, it's Nottingham versus Derby or Leicester versus Derby.
I was I'm going to say extremely old. I was not a child when I found out that the concept of a derby where two local teams play each other, or two teams play each other, was a thing. I was like, I remember it, so I must have been a teenager or older. No one ever told me, or maybe they were telling me and I just wasn't registering what was happening.
But it's difficult if you live in Derby because you always hear the word differently. Let's review a chocolate bar. Which one are we going for? Black or white is what's left.
I think the white one, because
These
I think the black one will be
appetizing.
delicious.
You've done well to keep these towards the end.
Thank you.
So you describe what it looks like. I'll try it.
The white one is the same as the others. So there's like a core of chocolatey something, but it's all wrapped in white chocolate and Rice Krispies with a fancy zigzag. I don't know what kind of art a fancy zigzag is, but it's got a fancy zigzag of like dark chocolate, ? Milk chocolate.
It's really good.
What does the label say?
It's really, really good. This is the best one yet.
The picture is not is the bar. The picture is not what is the bar. The picture's got like a beige filling. It looks like...
There's a very thin beige filling in this. It's not the... Yeah, the drawing makes it look like it's the dimensions of a Boost bar, whereas it's actually more like a Milky Way that someone sat on. Really nice. Sorry to anyone who can't stand eating sounds on podcasts. Actually, I'm not sorry.
What is it?
I don't know what the stuff in the middle is. It doesn't seem to taste of anything, but it just stops the milk, the white chocolate being overpowering. Some kind of nougat. I'm trying to eat off microphone.
I'm like strangely familiar with the shape of Greek letters, because having done a physics degree, you see them way too often. But I feel like I should know the word because I recognise the letters, but I obviously do not because I don't know Greek.
You're like delta ohms?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it like I should know what this is, but no, obviously no.
And tell me, growing up, how many times did you have to deal with Americans mispronouncing Derby?
It's deeply upsetting to me. It's deeply upsetting after people continue to do it after they've been corrected. But now, having moved to like Oxford, where apparently nothing is anything in terms of what it's called, and people
Bennett
are pretending that Magdalen and now I don't know if the Magdalen Arms is Magdalen Arms. That's nonsense. I refuse. I'm not having it.
Well, it's just to catch out people like you and me that aren't from the southeast, you know?
That's what I strongly suspected, was it was just another way in terms of the beige architecture, then the mysterious mispronunciations is the other way that they're finding me out.
Yeah. I've got friends who are into roller derby, so I do correct them to roller derby all the time. Because it makes it sound much more like derby. It's just a kind of noise.
Is it?
It's derby.
Is it not roller derby? Is it roller derby?
No, it's roller derby. It's going to be roller derby. It came from America, so it might have a mispronunciation attached to it.
I thought it was roller derby.
Can't possibly be that. Can't possibly
roller
be
derby.
Roller derby.
That always looks like so much fun. I like the aggression. Not the aggression, but like, you know, when you do sports, you get just a little hurt. Like, that's the best kind of sports.
Yeah.
Like rugby.
I'm sitting here running through my actually quite serious sports injuries that I still have, and I'm like, no.
Oh no, I've never been that hurt.
It's
just
all wear and tear. That's the problem. It's not the when you get smacked around. It's the doing the same jump 4,000 times until you've got no ankles anymore.
Oh, that doesn't sound good. That's how I got my Morris dancing injury.
What Morris dance? Derby is really coming across as a cultural hotspot. What can you do? You can drink in 15th century pubs, Morris dance, and talk about sheep.
It's fabulous.
What's your Morris dancing injury?
I kicked my bin. I went. So, like, if you're in a Morris side and you get invited to a festival, you essentially get free tickets for doing dancing. And Sidmouth Folk Festival has a procession which involves dancing for a while. And I went and did that, and I screwed my knee up, basically. So whenever my knee's held in a certain position for too long, agony. And I'm 25. Should I have bad knees from Morris dancing, of all things?
Oh, yeah, mid-20s is when the injuries start.
And then they just never heal.
21, you can bounce anything off. But no, yeah, I've still got injuries I got when I was 25. It's not they never heal right. Without you being a multi-millionaire sports person who gets shipped to a top American surgeon. Those little cruciate ligament tweaks and stuff, they never get sorted out.
People won't do that for Morris dancing. It's hurtful.
What was the tune you were dancing to?
Oh, I don't remember. It was a while ago now. But it's with Makeney Morris. If anyone's interested in joining a Morris side, Makeney Morris in Derbyshire is fabulous.
Amazing. I'm sure our super hit listeners who are hearing how great Derby is will probably all move there. Good news, house price is really low.
Yeah. It's the best.
In fact, weirdly, when I did my little tour of Derby and Nottingham, every house I'd ever lived in was for sale.
Oh.
In both cities. I was like, what is happening?
People heard. I am tempted. If I ever stopped like doing engineering and started doing science communication full time, Derby's right in the middle. You get anywhere. They've got a train station.
Yeah,
You've probably been through it on the train.
You might get some nice training contracts from Rolls-Royce.
That would be cool. Derby is 90% Rolls-Royce. So.
on the train from Derby to Nottingham, I did hear the best piece of medical advice I'd have ever heard.
Oh, yeah?
There were a bunch of teenage girls standing in the middle because the train was really full. And one of them banged into another one. And the one who had been banged into shouted, don't elbow me in the tit. Do you want me to get breast cancer or something?
I feel like that rumour is from a Jaqueline Wilson book. I feel like there's a particular book where that happens, and then every person my age, maybe younger, I don't know if people still read Jaqueline Wilson, but believe that to be a true thing that could happen. Can it happen?
No, it's much older than Jaqueline Wilson as well.
Oh, fair. I remember it in that book.
Yeah. No, I just wrote that down as medical facts.
That's good. It's good.
Thanks, teenagers of
Type 5.
Derby or not. That is quite a crazy train. Although it's nice because it's the people who've got enough money to not have to get the bus, so it's a little bit classier. Although it does stop.
The train?
Yeah, it
between
does stop
Derby
in
and
scary places. I mean, that's the one thing that Derby and Nottingham really agree on, is that everything between the two of them is absolute dog shit.
Well, I feel like Derby's the best, and then I guess maybe Nottingham could go slightly below that, and then everything else is not really worth visiting, is it?
I mean, like, if you think about places like Ilkeston, obviously. Ilkeston's Ilkeston, West Hallam.
Oh.
I used to know a girl from West Hallam. She smoked menthols.
Ooh.
And every time she smoked one, she would go, dead fresh. That's when I was 14 that I knew her, obviously. There is the town of Kimberley, which we've got to respect for being called Kimberley. And then, I mean, the Derbyshire names just get really silly. Burniston and Findon and Swarkestone. I don't think it's pronounced like that. That would be the Middle English.
Swarkestone has a really long bridge in it that is like, is it the Ship of Theseus, where if you replace every brick in Swarkestone Bridge, is it still Swarkestone Bridge? That's what's happened to Swarkestone Bridge. It's like, it might be Roman or something, but they keep letting lorries go along it. So it's just crumbling.
Derby town planning. That's what that is.
Beautiful.
I don't think there is any town planning anywhere in the East Midlands, I'm going to be honest. Given that in Nottingham city centre, banks are closing and being converted into student flats on the ground floor. It's
wow.
Like, shouldn't somebody be keeping some sort of retail in this anyway?
Please.
You can't return the ground floor of the market square into housing. You do all the rest.
No good.
But in the words of town planners everywhere, mixed use is a ground floor phenomenon. Everything it's ever said to me is in my brain somewhere. That's why I keep coming out with all this absolute shit.
That's impressive. Nothing stays with me. Everything's gone. You can tell me the same joke like every other day, and I'd be like, "Wow, that's great."
Dream audience, dream partner. Because the worst thing that happens in relationships is you just run out of things to talk about.
No, you see, the downside of that is I don't retain anything. So I will also tell you the same story constantly. You'd be like, I've heard that. That's very good. Well done.
Whenever I used to do that, an ex-girlfriend would say to me, shh, you're so pretty. Let's try the fourth Derby bar. We're on to the black one.
Oh my God.
So this one, it's got the rice on the outside, but somehow it's more delicately done than the others, at least in my version. Mm-hmm. What do you think? It's like it's sunk in a bit more, or it's smaller rice.
It looks more like a Rice Krispie cake.
Yeah, the milk chocolate's a bit more shiny and polished as well. What's the taste like? The middle is white gunk, is I think the best way I can describe it. Has it got two different...
coconut in my teeth.
Oh, it's got coconut and caramel.
I think it's coconut.
Oh,
I'm considering it. I'm thinking about it.
Oh, that one's a bit much, the caramel.
I feel like if you're going to do a caramel one, the whole thing should maybe be caramel. Although it's like Mars bar-esque, but I feel like the fluffy stuff in a Mars bar is flavoured malty? Question mark? Chocolatey? Malty chocolate?
All I can say is, row. I got told off once for saying that in a work meeting. I wasn't concentrating, and my boss's boss asked me a question, and I just went, row.
It didn't go down well.
No, the same job I got in trouble for falling asleep in a meeting. And someone woke me up and they went, you were asleep. And I'd just been woken up, so I was a bit grumpy and not really concentrating. So I just went, you should try and be more interesting.
To be fair, that feels like it's on them. Because either you're overworked and therefore sleepy, or it's extremely boring and therefore sleepy.
It was both. I'm going to be honest.
Seems like a them problem.
So have you got any stories? What I want is a story from Derby, something that happened to you while you were living there. Something, just give us the little vignette, you know? Give us the last of the summer wine episode of Leah's life in Derby.
I feel like, at the risk of repeating myself, I feel like there were a few summers at the end of school, like year 11 kind of time, where we were at Darley Park every other week, like straight from school to go and sit in the grass and generally loiter. I just feel like that was the best. That was best times. It was always like a massive group of kids who may or may not have been drinking, depending on who's listening to the podcast. And it was just peak times, like summer. It's really warm. You've got the river running next to the park. We've come straight from school, so we're all dressed like smart casual. It's like quite the contrast, if you could imagine it, like day drinking, smart casually.
But you lived miles out. Where was your school that you could?
City centre.
Which school was it?
Landau Forte. I want to say the first academy.
That was just sounds. Was that the name of something?
I've gotten into a terrible habit of saying everything as one word. No one knows what I'm saying. Landau Forte College. Wow. It's like two dudes' names, I believe.
Amazing. I just zoomed in on the map of Derby. Derby has a Lara Croft Way, presumably because it was the home of Eidos, wasn't it? Yeah. Maybe, is it still?
I want to say...
Don't know.
Yes.
Oh yes, Landau Forte College, Derby. And brilliantly, the nearest bit of Darley Park is called Parker's Piece. So any Cambridge listeners can be like, "Oh, I thought we had the only one." But, turns out there's one in Derby as well. Loads of pubs. Loads of pubs.
The Silk Mill's got a pub attached to it. So if you want to go see like the Museum of Making and see the first factory, I want to say a water-powered silk mill, and then you can go to the pub and it's really nice.
Yeah. That looks really nice, actually.
It's well nice. It's got, I think it's a Dancing Duck brewery pub. Dancing Duck do immense beer. They're the one who do A Up.
Nice.
Well, nice.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. That does sound really nice. A little tiny idyll surrounded by the disaster that is the rest of Derby. I'm contractually obliged to say that. I mean, also I have to say they've both gone to shit. From the golden age of, Derby and Nottingham both having forbidden planets. Can you imagine that? 2 comic shops in Derby at one point. Now none.
The board game cafe got robbed and then it closed, and then another one opened up and then it closed, and it was tragic.
Yeah, it's difficult to keep anything nice open outside of London, Bristol, Manchester.
There's a lot of independent places though. That and Sheffield do have it going for it, but the downside of independent places with rising rent is that they disappear quite quickly. Yeah. So if you enjoy it, you got to go while it's there.
Yeah. No, it's very true. Fantastic. Right. Thank you so much. Leah, have you got any final words, any advice for somebody who might have to go to Derby? I don't know why they would. Maybe somebody's accidentally got into the university.
I would say if the Ram Trail is in town, they've got a whole bunch of sheep. One of them looks like a disco ball, but otherwise there's the giant sheep by the bus station that you simply have to see. And on top of that, there's a lot of very nice pubs. I recommend a long pub crawl that you forget the end of, and then you get on the beer scooter home, and then you're like, well, that was nice. I enjoyed that. I recommend it.
My main piece of advice for anyone going to Derby University is if they put you in Buxton Hall, that is in Buxton, and then you will have to commute into Derby. Don't fall
Is it
for
really?
Yeah, they've got a hall of residence in Buxton.
Well, Buxton's quite nice, isn't it? It's like fancy. Is it fancy?
It's quite a long way from Derby, though.
It is.
And it's absolutely not fancy.
That's news.
Brilliant. Right. Thank you so much, Leah. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll edit this into something worth having. Where can our visitors find you if they want to find out more about you? Maybe they want to defend different bits of Derby that we've slagged off. Maybe they want to join you in your anti-Nottingham war.
I am Leah Loves Science on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now YouTube. Hit 100 subscribers, so I'm allowed to change my URL.
Woo!
Thank you. So that's 1 S, but I mean, if you put 2 S's in, I'll probably come up. And you can ask me any science questions, any engineering questions. I'm currently doing some videos on fusion energy because I'm a fusion engineer. And I would love to make videos and answer them.
Are there any great scientific discoveries or people from Derby? Other than you?
But they're all quite far away in the past. Like, I was reading about the Midland Enlightenment or something, I believe it's called, and it's like, I feel
That was
like
mostly in the West
1700s.
Midlands, wasn't it? That was the
How
lunar group and all that.
Dare you?
No, but it was. It was all
Yeah, no, it
Wedgwoods
was.
It's all, yeah.
Yeah. The nice thing about Derby is there's not like a ton of famous people from Derby, so I feel like I got a good chance of making that list if I try really hard and believe in myself.
I think a Derby musician did a Levi's advert once.
Ooh.
I can't think of any Derby bands.
No. I know Lucy Ward, who's a folk singer and is also fabulous, a famous Derby person. But that is pretty much the extent of my knowledge. I think like we've got some actors from like the Dales. That's pretty much it.
You're claiming Derbyshire as part of Derby.
No, I reject that. We've got no one.
No, we don't do that in Notts with a Z, as opposed to Notts with an S, which is the county. Notts with a Z is Nottingham, or to pronounce it correctly, Nottingham. Brilliant, right. Have a brilliant day, everybody. Don't go to Derby. Bye.
And just to end the show, a couple of audio treats for you. First of all, some more Squeezebox from Leah Morgan. And then I found a MIDI file of the Derby Ram, and I've played it in the style of somebody messing about with a keyboard in Dixon's circa 1990, by which I mean I've just constantly changed the instrument which the lead is being played with. Unfortunately, it does not have machine gun. Still, for anyone who thought there's not enough audio mucking about in this episode, there is now. See you next time.